Brothers and sisters, have you ever felt your heart heavy, your mind restless, or your soul longing for peace? Imagine a time when the world is asleep, the silence is complete, and at that very moment, Allah is waiting just for you. A moment when your whispers are heard, your tears are noticed, and your du'as carry a weight like no other. That time exists, and it is called Tahajjud, the night prayer that can transform your life, bring your heart peace, and bring you closer to the Most Merciful. Today, I want to show you how to rise for Tahajjud, how to connect deeply with Allah, and why even a few minutes of sincere devotion can change everything. Tahajjud is the night prayer prayed after sleeping and before Fajr. It is not simply an optional prayer, but one of the most special acts of worship that connects a servant directly with Allah in the most private and intimate way. This prayer is unique because it requires a person to leave the comfort of their bed, break their sleep, and rise at a time when the world is silent and still. It demonstrates sincerity, humility, and true yearning for Allah, since nobody else is watching and no worldly benefit can be gained from it. Even a short portion of the night, just before Fajr, is sufficient to stand for Tahajjud, and the mercy of Allah descends abundantly during those blessed moments. It can be performed in a minimum of 2 rak'ahs, but those who are able may extend it to 4, 6, 8 or more. The essence of Tahajjud lies not in the number of units but in the depth of connection, the length of sujood, the recitation of Qur'an, and the pouring out of one's heart in dua. It is a time when a believer seeks forgiveness, guidance, blessings and strength, knowing that Allah Himself has promised to answer the one who calls upon Him in the last third of the night. This prayer carries a special sweetness that no other act of worship brings, because it is done at a time when distractions are few and sincerity is at its peak. It was a regular practice of the Prophet, and it remains a key to spiritual growth, inner peace, and closeness to Allah. It was the habit of the Prophet and the righteous people. The Prophet would stand in prayer at night until his blessed feet would swell, and when asked why he exerted himself so much despite being forgiven, he replied that he wanted to be a grateful servant to Allah. This shows the deep love, humility, and devotion he had for his Creator, and it set a powerful example for his followers. The righteous people who came after him, including his companions, scholars, and pious individuals throughout history, also made Tahajjud part of their lives. They found strength, guidance, and tranquility in those silent hours of the night, using them to recite the Qur'an, to shed tears in sujood, and to pour their hearts out to Allah in dua. For them, Tahajjud was not only an act of worship, but also a source of spiritual nourishment that kept their hearts alive and their souls connected to their Lord. They understood that the night prayer was a secret bond between them and Allah, one that elevated their ranks and brought them closer to His mercy and forgiveness. It was through this consistent practice that they achieved steadfastness in faith and clarity in their daily lives, because the light of Tahajjud illuminated their hearts and guided their actions. Allah praises those who wake up at night in the Qur'an 51, 17-18. In these verses, Allah describes His beloved servants as people who sleep only a little during the night, and then rise in the early hours before dawn to seek His forgiveness. This praise is not merely a passing statement, but a clear indication that waking at night to remember Allah is a mark of true faith and devotion. It highlights the strength of those who are willing to sacrifice their rest for the sake of their Creator, showing that their hearts are alive with the remembrance of Him even when the world is quiet. Such people are not driven by the desire for recognition or worldly benefit. Rather, they are motivated purely by love, gratitude, and fear of Allah. Their nights are not wasted in heedlessness, but are spent in humble prostration and whispered prayers, while their tongues seek forgiveness and their hearts yearn for closeness to their Lord. These verses serve as both an encouragement and an honor, reminding us that those who dedicate part of their night to worship are singled out by Allah and elevated in rank. It is a reminder that every moment spent in Tahajjud, no matter how small, is recorded with Allah and placed among the qualities of the righteous, who will be granted mercy and forgiveness in this world and the next. Even 2 rak'ahs of Tahajjud hold immense value. This is because what matters most in the sight of Allah is not the number of units performed, but the sincerity and humility with which they are offered. Rising from the comfort of sleep, making wud, who in the stillness of the night and standing before Allah even for a few moments is a sign of true faith and devotion. Those 2 rak'ahs become a witness of your love for Allah, showing that you chose Him over the comfort of your bed. The Prophet encouraged his followers by reminding them that the most beloved deeds to Allah are the consistent ones, even if they are small. 2 rak'ahs prayed with focus, with heartfelt recitation, and with a tearful sujood may outweigh long hours of worship performed without presence of heart. In those short moments, a believer has the opportunity to seek forgiveness, to ask for guidance, and to pour out their needs to the one who controls everything. Those 2 rak'ahs may be the very reason for a door of mercy to open, for a hardship to be lifted, or for a prayer to be answered. The angels record them as an act of devotion, and they are treasured in the scale of deeds on the day of judgment. What makes them powerful is not their length, but the fact that they are offered at a time when most people are asleep, turning them into a private and special act of worship known only to Allah and His servant. You don't need long hours. Consistency matters more than length. A person might think that Tahajjud is only valid if one stands for an hour or two reciting long portions of the Qur'an, but in reality Allah values the sincerity of the heart far above the length of time spent in worship. Even a few minutes, performed regularly and with devotion, carry more weight than a long prayer done once in a while. The Prophet taught that the most beloved actions to Allah are those that are done consistently, even if they are small. This principle applies beautifully to Tahajjud, where a person may choose to pray just 2 short rak'ahs every night. Yet, if they remain steadfast, the impact on their soul is far greater than occasional lengthy vigils. Consistency trains the heart to remain connected to Allah, builds discipline, and creates a routine where the night becomes a source of tranquility and closeness to the Creator. Over time, the believer finds that these small, regular moments of prayer soften the heart, strengthen faith, and gradually lead to the desire for longer, deeper prayers. What matters most is that Tahajjud becomes a habit of the heart, a regular conversation with Allah in the stillness of the night, rather than a rare occurrence reserved for moments of desperation. Tahajjud is the time when Allah is closest to His servants. It is during these sacred hours of the night, when the world is silent and distractions fade away, that a believer feels an unparalleled nearness to their Creator. The hadith tells us that in the last third of the night, Allah descends to the lowest heaven in a manner befitting His majesty and calls out to His servants, asking who is supplicating so He may answer, who is seeking so He may give, and who is asking forgiveness so He may forgive. This is an invitation unlike any other, a moment when the gates of mercy are wide open and the believer has direct access to the one who holds their future, their provisions, and their peace in His hands. In these moments, the servant can whisper their fears, their dreams, their secrets, and their sins, knowing that Allah is listening attentively. It is a time when hearts find peace, tears flow easily, and the burdens of life feel lighter because they are shared with the most merciful. The closeness experienced in Tahajjud cannot be compared to any worldly comfort, for it is a closeness that fills the soul with light, strengthens faith, and leaves the believer certain that they are never alone. In the last third of the night, Allah asks, "Who is calling upon me so I may answer him?" This divine call is unlike any other, for it comes directly from the Lord of the worlds, inviting His servants to seek from Him whatever their hearts desire. At a time when the majority of people are asleep and lost in their rest, Allah opens the door of mercy and personally calls out to His creation, assuring them that He is ready to listen, to forgive, and to provide. This moment is filled with unimaginable honor and opportunity, for it is not every day that the King of Kings announces His closeness and promises a direct response. Whoever rises at that time, even for a few minutes, finds themselves under the shade of this divine invitation, their whispers heard, their tears valued, and their du'as recorded. It is the time when burdens can be lifted, broken hearts can be healed, and hidden needs can be fulfilled. No request is too small, and no dream is too great, for the one who is asking the question is the one who has complete power over everything in existence. Those who take advantage of this sacred call understand that the last third of the night is not just a moment of prayer, but a window of divine generosity where Allah Himself assures His servants that He is waiting for them. It is the best time to make dua for forgiveness, guidance, and needs. When the night is still and distractions are gone, the heart is softer, the mind is calmer, and the soul is more receptive to the remembrance of Allah. In this blessed time, a believer can bow down and admit their mistakes, seeking Allah's mercy for sins both known and hidden, confident that He loves to forgive and never tires of pardoning His servants. It is also the moment to ask for guidance, clarity in decisions, and strength to walk upon the straight path, because the light of Allah placed in a person's heart during Tahajjud can direct every step they take in life. At the same time, it is the perfect opportunity to present one's worldly needs, whether they are matters of health, family, provision, or protection, for Allah is capable of granting anything and everything. The dua made in Tahajjud carries a special weight because it is offered at a time when sincerity is at its peak, when there are no eyes watching, no ears listening, and no distractions pulling the heart away. It is just the servant and the Lord, a private conversation filled with hope, tears, and longing. And it is during these moments that countless prayers are answered and countless lives are transformed. Would you like me to keep expanding each note in this same deep, flowing style until all 25 are completed, so you'll have a continuous full script? Tahajjud strengthens your connection with Allah. When a believer rises in the quiet hours of the night, leaving behind the comfort of sleep to stand in prayer, the act itself becomes a powerful declaration of love and devotion. It is a moment of deep intimacy where the servant opens their heart in front of their Creator, sharing worries, expressing gratitude, and seeking closeness that cannot be found elsewhere. This repeated act of devotion nurtures the bond between the servant and Allah, making the relationship stronger and more personal with each passing night. Over time, the believer begins to feel that Allah is not distant but near, listening to every whisper and responding to every tear. The consistency of Tahajjud carves a special place in the heart, reminding the soul that true peace and reliance rest only in turning to Allah. It makes worship not just a ritual but a living connection, and it allows the believer to experience the sweetness of faith in a way that daytime prayers often cannot capture because of the noise and busyness of life. The stillness of the night magnifies the connection, allowing the servant to taste the tranquility of being alone with Allah, a closeness that builds certainty, strengthens faith, and nurtures unwavering trust in His mercy and wisdom. It brings peace of heart and relief from anxiety. In the silence of the night, when worries often feel heavier and loneliness more intense, Tahajjud becomes a refuge where the believer finds comfort in the presence of Allah. The simple act of bowing down, placing one's forehead on the ground, and whispering prayers dissolves the weight of stress and fills the heart with serenity. Many of the anxieties that seem unbearable during the day lose their grip when carried to Allah in those blessed moments. The tears shed in sujud wash away the heaviness of sorrow, and the whispered pleas remind the soul that it is not alone in its struggles. Allah, the most merciful, listens attentively, and His remembrance soothes the restless heart in a way nothing else can. The believer rises from Tahajjud with a calmer spirit, stronger faith, and renewed hope, ready to face the challenges of life with trust in Allah's wisdom and decree. It is in those quiet conversations that hidden fears are eased, unseen wounds are healed, and a sense of unshakable peace takes root in the heart. It is a secret between you and Allah, no showing off, only sincerity. Tahajjud is performed at a time when most people are asleep, when the world is unaware of what you are doing, and when there is no audience to impress. In that solitude, the prayer becomes an intimate exchange between the servant and the Creator, free from the distractions of recognition or praise. Unlike public acts of worship that can sometimes carry the danger of pride, Tahajjud is hidden and purely for Allah, making it a reflection of true sincerity. Every word recited, every tear that falls, and every supplication made in those quiet hours is known only to Allah, who values the secret devotion of His servant more than anything that is done to impress others. This hidden act of worship purifies the heart, strengthens intention, and builds a relationship with Allah that is based solely on love and submission. It is in that unseen devotion that a believer experiences the sweetness of faith, knowing that even if no human eye ever witnesses their effort, Allah sees, Allah records, and Allah responds. The secrecy of Tahajjud makes it one of the purest forms of worship, where sincerity reaches its highest level and the soul finds true connection with the divine. Tahajjud adds Barakah blessing in your daily life. When a person begins the day by connecting with Allah in the quiet of the night, that connection carries through into the hours that follow, filling their time, efforts, and provisions with unseen benefit. Barakah is not always about having more in quantity, but rather about finding sufficiency, ease, and goodness in whatever one has. A person who prays Tahajjud may discover that their tasks become easier, their mind clearer, and their time more productive, even if they had fewer hours of sleep. They may find unexpected openings in their sustenance, harmony in their relationships, and solutions to problems that once seemed impossible. This is the hidden blessing that comes from beginning the day with Allah's remembrance, for He places light in the heart, strength in the body, and contentment in the soul. The barakah of Tahajjud extends into every aspect of life, studies, work, family, and even health, because when Allah is pleased with a servant's secret devotion, He makes the rest of their affairs smooth and filled with goodness. What others may try to achieve with endless effort, the one who rises for Tahajjud often achieves with ease, because Allah Himself puts blessing in their time and actions. It increases clarity in decisions and strength in faith. When a believer prays Tahajjud, they step away from the noise and distractions of daily life and enter a space of stillness and reflection. In those quiet moments, the heart becomes calm, and the mind gains clarity, allowing one to see situations with honesty and wisdom. Decisions that once seemed confusing or overwhelming can suddenly appear clearer because the soul has been nourished with the light of Allah's guidance. At the same time, the repeated act of rising in the night, dedicating oneself to Allah, and seeking His help strengthens faith. The believer begins to trust more deeply in Allah's plan, relying less on worldly measures of success or opinion, and more on the guidance that comes directly from Him. This combination of clarity and strengthened faith equips the believer to approach life with confidence, patience, and insight, making choices that are more aligned with the path of righteousness. Over time, the habit of Tahajjud instills a discipline of thought and action, as the heart and mind are continuously reminded of Allah's presence, mercy, and wisdom in every step of life. It is a time when the heart is pure and distractions are few. In the stillness of the night, when the world around is silent and the busyness of the day has faded away, the believer finds a unique opportunity to focus entirely on Allah without interruption. There are no demands from work, no noise from conversations, no obligations pulling the mind in different directions. The heart, free from the weight of daily distractions, becomes more receptive to the remembrance of Allah and more sensitive to His words. In this state, sincerity flows naturally, and the whispers of prayer feel deeper and more meaningful. It is during this time that tears fall easily, repentance feels genuine, and gratitude emerges effortlessly. The purity of the heart in those moments makes every word spoken to Allah feel more personal, every verse of the Qur'an more powerful, and every sujood more comforting. This rare environment of silence and calmness allows the believer to taste the sweetness of worship in its purest form, where nothing stands between them and their Creator. Sujud in Tahajjud is the closest a servant can be to Allah. When a person places their forehead on the ground in complete submission, it is a moment of absolute humility and devotion, where the soul acknowledges the greatness of its Creator and the servant's own dependence on him. In that prostration there is no pretense, no distraction, and no barrier between the believer and Allah. It is a direct, intimate connection. The heart feels the weight of both awe and love, and the mind recognizes that in that moment nothing matters except the presence of the Most Merciful. Every whispered plea, every silent cry for help, and every expression of gratitude in sujud carries a special closeness that cannot be achieved in any other posture or time. It is in these deep, private moments of submission that the servant experiences a sense of nearness and peace that fills the soul, strengthens faith, and provides comfort that no worldly act can replace. Sujud during Tahajjud becomes a sanctuary for the heart, a place where burdens are laid down, sins are confessed, and the servant feels fully seen and fully heard by Allah alone. You can pray 2, 4, 6, 8 or more rak'ahs, whatever you're able. Tahajjud is flexible and designed to accommodate the capacity of every believer, whether they are young, old, healthy, or weary. The emphasis is not on quantity, but on sincerity, devotion, and presence of heart. Even the smallest number of rak'ahs, performed with humility and focus, carries immense reward and significance, while those who are able to pray more can deepen their connection and extend their time in worship. The choice to pray according to one's strength ensures that Tahajjud remains a consistent and attainable practice, rather than a burden that might discourage or overwhelm. Each rak'ah becomes a channel through which the servant communicates with Allah, reciting verses, prostrating, and making heartfelt supplications. Over time, believers often find that their capacity to pray grows naturally as their love for Allah and desire for closeness increases, allowing them to extend their prayers without feeling forced. The beauty of this flexibility is that every individual can participate in Tahajjud in a way that suits their circumstances, making it an inclusive, transformative act of worship that strengthens faith and brings one closer to the mercy and guidance of Allah. Reciting Qur'an during Tahajjud has a deeper impact on the soul. In the quiet of the night, when the world is still and the heart is calm, every word of the Qur'an resonates more profoundly, reaching the innermost corners of the believer's heart. Unlike daytime recitation, which can sometimes be hurried or distracted by daily concerns, nighttime recitation allows the words to be absorbed fully, with reflection and understanding. The verses become alive, their meanings touching the soul and stirring emotions that may remain dormant during the busy hours of the day. Each sujud and bowing amplifies the connection, turning the recitation into an intimate conversation with Allah, where the heart is attentive and the spirit is receptive. Tears often flow, hearts soften, and the believer experiences a sense of closeness to Allah that words alone cannot describe. The Qur'an read at this hour inspires reflection, strengthens faith, and instills a sense of peace and guidance that carries through the day. It becomes a source of spiritual nourishment, awakening the soul to its purpose, reminding it of Allah's mercy, and deepening the servant's love and reliance on the Creator. Making dua in your own language is encouraged. While Arabic has its own beauty and blessings, Allah understands every language, every word, and every whisper of the heart. When a believer speaks to Allah in the language most natural to them, the dua becomes more heartfelt, sincere, and personal. It allows the servant to express their emotions fully, to pour out fears, hopes, regrets, and gratitude without hesitation or limitation. In those moments, the words are not just recited. They are felt deeply, carrying the weight of the heart directly to the one who knows everything, even what is unspoken. Speaking in one's own language also allows for a greater connection and intimacy, because the servant is not constrained by memorization or formality, but is free to speak from the heart. Allah listens attentively, values the sincerity, and responds according to His infinite wisdom and mercy. This practice transforms dua into a genuine conversation, making the night prayer not only an act of worship, but also a personal dialogue with the Creator, where every word, every sigh, and every tear is acknowledged and treasured. Even 10-15 minutes before Fajr is enough to catch Tahajjud. Many people feel that they must dedicate hours of their night to prayer in order to gain its reward, but in reality, Allah values sincerity and effort far more than duration. Rising even for a short period before Fajr allows a believer to stand in devotion, make dua, and engage in sujood, connecting with Allah in a way that is both intimate and powerful. These few minutes can be enough to recite a portion of the Qur'an, pour out the heart in supplication, and seek forgiveness for past mistakes. The brevity of the time does not diminish the significance of the act. Rather, it highlights that Tahajjud is accessible to everyone, regardless of their schedule or strength. Consistently waking up, even for a short while, develops a habit of devotion, softens the heart, and brings one closer to Allah. The key is not the length, but the sincerity and presence of heart during those moments, turning even a brief vigil into a source of immense spiritual benefit and mercy. Sleeping early helps make Tahajjud easier. By adjusting the night to rest at an earlier hour, a person ensures that they have the strength and alertness to rise before Fajr without difficulty or fatigue. When the body is well rested, the heart and mind are more focused, making it easier to engage in meaningful prayer and reflection rather than struggling to stay awake or feeling distracted. Early sleep also trains the body to follow a rhythm that accommodates night worship, turning Tahajjud into a natural, consistent habit rather than a burdensome effort. Those who sleep early often find that even a short wake-up period becomes productive, allowing them to perform 2 or more rak'ahs with sincerity, recite portions of the Qur'an attentively, and make heartfelt dua. It also prevents the temptation of late-night distractions, such as social media, entertainment, or unnecessary activities, which can sap energy and weaken the desire for prayer. By prioritizing rest at the right time, the believer creates an environment where Tahajjud is not only possible, but spiritually rewarding, strengthening both body and soul to dedicate themselves fully to Allah in those blessed early hours. Intention is rewarded even if you oversleep. In Islam, the sincerity of the heart carries tremendous weight, and Allah values the effort and desire of His servants, even when circumstances prevent them from fulfilling their plans. If a believer sets the intention to rise for Tahajjud, but finds themselves unable to wake up due to sleep, weakness, or other unavoidable reasons, the act of intending itself is recorded and rewarded. This principle teaches that Allah looks at the heart and the effort, not just the physical action, and that every sincere desire to worship Him is meaningful. It encourages believers not to despair when they fall short, reminding them that consistency begins with intention and that Allah's mercy encompasses all sincere efforts. By forming the intention night after night, even if one sometimes fails to act, the believer is nurturing a connection with Allah, training the heart toward devotion, and planting seeds of spiritual growth that will bear fruit in this life and the next. It is a reminder that no sincere intention is wasted and that Allah's reward is boundless for those who seek Him with honesty and love. Tahajjud helps you offload your worries and problems to Allah. When a believer rises in the stillness of the night, leaving behind the noise and pressures of daily life, they enter a sacred space where their heart can be completely open before their Creator. In those quiet moments, one can speak freely, pouring out fears, regrets, anxieties, and burdens without hesitation or fear of judgment. The act of turning to Allah in dua allows the heart to release the weight of stress that often feels overwhelming during the day. Every whisper, every tear, and every sigh becomes a means of cleansing the soul, transferring the worries from the heart to the One who is all-powerful, all-knowing, and infinitely merciful. The mind begins to find clarity as the heart rests in the assurance that Allah is listening, that he understands, and that he can provide solutions in ways beyond human imagination. Tahajjud transforms the night into a refuge where the believer is comforted, strengthened, and reminded that no difficulty is too great for the one who controls everything. It is in this private dialogue that the burdens of life feel lighter, the heart feels calmer, and faith is renewed, knowing that every concern has been entrusted to the most merciful. It transforms your life by bringing you closer to your Creator. When a believer consistently rises for Tahajjud, their relationship with Allah deepens in ways that affect every aspect of their existence. The heart becomes more sensitive to guidance, the mind more aware of right and wrong, and the soul more content with what Allah has decreed. This closeness to the Creator instills a sense of purpose, direction, and peace that cannot be found in worldly pursuits. Daily challenges and hardships begin to be faced with patience and trust, knowing that Allah is near and attentive. The love for Allah grows, shaping intentions, actions, and interactions with others, and creating a life aligned with His pleasure. Tahajjud cultivates discipline, humility, and gratitude, because the servant realizes the value of these quiet moments in the night, and cherishes them as opportunities for spiritual growth. Over time, this practice transforms the believer's character, making them more compassionate, mindful, and resilient, as their connection with Allah becomes the foundation upon which all decisions, relationships, and ambitions are built. The soul becomes anchored in faith, and the heart finds an enduring sense of fulfillment that elevates life from mere routine to meaningful devotion. It makes your days more productive and your nights more peaceful. When a believer rises for Tahajjud, even for a short period, the act of dedicating time to Allah before the world awakens, instills a sense of discipline and purpose that carries into the day. The mind, having experienced the quiet reflection and heartfelt conversation with the Creator, becomes clearer, more focused, and better able to prioritize tasks and responsibilities. Stress and anxiety that might otherwise cloud judgment are alleviated, leaving space for thoughtful decision making and efficient action. The peace cultivated in the night lingers into the day, creating a sense of calm amidst life's challenges and interactions. Nights themselves become more tranquil because the habit of Tahajjud establishes a rhythm of spiritual fulfillment, allowing the believer to sleep with a heart lighter and more content, knowing that they have stood in devotion before Allah. This balance between night worship and daytime productivity fosters harmony in both soul and life, enabling the believer to approach each day with energy, clarity, and gratitude, while feeling a profound sense of inner peace nurtured by their connection with Allah. Remember, while the world sleeps, Allah is waiting for you. In those quiet hours when streets are empty, homes are still, and the noise of daily life has faded, the heavens open in mercy, and Allah turns His attention toward His devoted servants. He is fully aware of every thought, every worry, every hope in your heart, and He is ready to respond, to forgive, and to guide. This is a special invitation, a private audience with the most merciful, where the servant is completely seen and heard. Unlike daytime prayers, where distractions and worldly concerns can interfere, the night offers complete focus, making every word of dua, every tear, and every whisper of the heart more potent. Allah's waiting is not passive, it is active, filled with readiness to bless, comfort, and answer in ways that surpass human understanding. Those who take advantage of this sacred time experience a sense of intimacy, love, and security, knowing that their Creator is near, attentive, and responsive. In this awareness, the believer finds courage, hope, and strength, realizing that no matter how heavy life's burdens may feel, they are never alone, for the Lord of the worlds is waiting to embrace, forgive, and guide them with infinite mercy.